Hey everyone, I'm Rafa, and as we all know, 2016 is about to come to an end. And so I just wanted to put the year in review, my favorite things of the year 2016. So please take a look at all the things that I enjoyed, experienced, and am now able to put into my memories. And it's a bunch of collections that now are part of me forever. Now, when we talk about the year in review, when we talk about the best movie of 2016, that's very difficult. And in this case, it's very hard to pinpoint my favorite movie, and I think this is the first time where a lot of the blockbuster films of this year were considered to be my favorite. Now, first of all, there were some fantastic films that I really loved. Arrival, thoughtful, intelligent, and breathtakingly beautiful. Sci-fi that had a surreal suspense and affect and everything. Amy Adams did such a great job. Zootopia was delightful. It was thoughtful, witty, and charming, and it was just charged in so much positivity. Then on the other spectrum, you had The Witch, a New England folktale. Highly immersive, atmospheric horror that was an unsettling slow burn that just looked beautiful, and just everything about it made you just go, oh shit, what's gonna happen next? I really enjoyed 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was wickedly paranoid and chillingly cryptic. I mean, this is where you had conspiracy mixed with high tension. It was a complete must-see. With that, Tom Ford's recent Nocturnal Animals, that was a grisly take on, loneliness and love and relationships and exactly what it means to live in splendor, but what it is to hate. And then just recently I watched The Lobster with Colin Farrell. That movie made my stomach hurt. But it's one of those movies that made me elicit so much of a response. I felt immersed in the narrative and the style, and would I rewatch it again? I'm not sure. Those were some of my favorites, but by far, four of my most favorite films, and I can't really put them in any specific order because these were four of the movies that I just loved this year. And so I'm sorry, this might be a bit of a cop-out, but these are the four movies that I thought were the best of this year. First of all, for sure, Shin Godzilla, or Godzilla Resurgence, an eccentric resurgence of the King of Monsters only Hideki Anno could imagine. It's a visceral viewing experience. Watching through this, being a big Evangelion fan, I saw so many callbacks to this wondrous show. It was funny. It poked fun at bureaucracy and red tape, but more importantly, it showed how teamwork and having an efficient machine could take down the horrifyingly new look of this Godzilla. I thought it was a brilliant story. I rewatched it many times. I love this movie. With that, even though it got a lot of shit, I really enjoyed Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. I think it was unfairly hated, and it's bold. It tried new things. It's full of iconic imagery, and it's rich in allegory with the whole idea of, the fall of God and, Batman and Superman. Just the fact that we got this movie and the visual effects were great. Best part of the movie by far, besides Wonder Woman, is the scene where Batman takes down that warehouse of all those thugs. One of the best fighting scenes I've ever seen in any superhero movie. But I can't deny, Captain America Civil War was a way better film, and it fucking delivered. You felt emotionally invested in Robert Downey Jr. He did the best I've ever seen in any Marvel specific movie, and I was invested in so many moments. It was such a great callback to everything that I love about comics. The introduction of new characters, great scenes, the comedy, the humor, the action, the sequences. It just knew how to pace everything very well together. Little bit of action, little bit of narrative. Funny scene, a little bit of action, narrative. It understood what it was trying to do. And then the most recent movie that I saw, also one of my favorites, was definitely Rogue One. Again, a lot of big blockbuster films here this year, but I think that they really showcased what I loved about these franchises, and with Rogue One, it was a fun and exciting look at the Star Wars universe. It introduced me to a bunch of new characters that in a short amount of time made me care. It made me laugh, and that scene, oh my god, that scene with Darth Vader, 1 minute of Darth Vader in the movie that you will see, and that will remind you why he is a terrifying monster. These movies all elicit a certain response, and I have to say, these were the best films of 2016 because I wanted to watch them again. And first of all, they reminded me why I want to go to the movies in the first place. To immerse myself, to enjoy something that I read or that I hear about. And the stories are complex, and the narrative is so great, and it has a great emotional punch, and I learned something new. And so these are the movies that I really loved, and I highly recommend that you go see them as well. Now, when we're talking about the greatest TV shows of 2016, one of my personal favorites that I did not get the hype for was Westworld. based on the original movie and as well as the story created by Michael Crichton. I wouldn't think Westworld would be something that I'd be interested in. You know, westerns, whatever, doesn't seem too cool. But I finally watched it, and this was one of those series that just got you hooked into wanting more and more and more. The performances were fantastic. Evan Rachel Wood did a great job. Thaddeus Newton did a great job. Jeffrey Wright, James Marsden, of course, Cyclops. Everybody doing such a fantastic job of keeping you enthralled. An idea of this maze, robots, sentient life, really good sci-fi brought to you in a nice little package of mystique and despair. This show had so many moments where you were just, oh my god, they kind of set it up for you, and then you realize, I didn't see that coming. Oh shit, I didn't see that coming. And everything about it just feels so good. It's a very nice look at the intricacies and the ethics and the philosophy of what is life, who are we, and Westworld does it with such a beautiful soundtrack. I love this show. Thank you so much, Westworld. This was an amazing way to really check out 2016. Now, besides HBO, Netflix was also able to create a modern classic sci-fi show. Now, Stranger Things is one of those shows that tries to pay homage to the 80s, a lot of 80s culture, but they succeed. Whereas other places don't, because, you know, they do things tacky. Stranger Things produces a quality story with characters you really care about, with an amazing title sequence, as you can see, and a sound that is unique, retro, and the Duffer Brothers produce quality entertainment. This is one of those shows that I have to say is beautiful in so many different ways. It has so many different elements, and the atmosphere is electric, and everything about this is something you must check out. Another classic for 2016. And this is Chapter 2, The Weirdo on Maple Street. It's a great show. Check it out. Whether you like him or whether you hate him, Kanye West, The Life of Pablo, is by far my favorite album of 2016. I remember my buddy Jake giving me a call, letting me know, hey, it's up on Tidal, check it out. I remember laying in bed, listening to it 3 times in a row, and just loving it more and more as it went on. Kanye West is a man filled with controversy, and whether you love him or hate him, like I said, that shouldn't be the case. He produces quality music again and again, and he puts his whole heart and soul into everything he does, as it's evidenced in this quite brilliantly mastered The Life of Pablo, as it says. Parts soulful, brilliant, troubled, era-defining. These are some of the words that you hear from the tabloids and from the review scores. But at its basic, what I really think and what I really love about The Life of Pablo is that it sounds good. It feels rhythmic. It feels powerful. It's not 808 and Heartbreaks. It's not My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It's not The College Dropout. It's something new. It combines elements of all these different CDs and produces a very honest and real look into Kanye's life and kind of his overall thoughts. I'm not saying every single track on this CD is great, but he experiments and he tries new things, and the features just make this album so fun. Fade. This is by far my favorite track on the entire CD. Things such as the whole Waves, Ultralight Beam starts with such a straight and vibrant look at his life and all the things that he loves. Wolves, though it's not as great as what he originally had, this new creation of Wolves I really enjoy. FML, great. Real Friends, amazing. There is a lot of elements of old Kanye and new Kanye that kind of creates this basically living form of art, because he's always changing it, he's always continuing forward, and so we see it in real time, and I think that's very interesting. Overall, if you've not listened to The Life of Pablo, it's great hip-hop, it's great rap, it's great music just to listen to, and it gives you a taste of everything. So for 2016, by far, this has to be my favorite CD, because it makes me want to dance, and I won't stop dancing, because that's how I feel. Life of Pablo, thank you, Kanye. You brought out another fantastic album. And of course, Radiohead's A Moon-Shaped Pool is by far one of my favorite CDs of 2016. Like Kanye's The Life of Pablo, Radiohead bears all in this dystopian, acidic, heartbroken melody to the future. This is one of those albums where Radiohead once again bears all, and they showcase why they are one of the greatest bands that have ever been out. This is the 9th studio album, and perhaps it could be like one of the darkest ways that they've ever, produced some kind of a statement. It talks about a couple different things. It's focused on the environment, the devastation that we create, how love changes over time, and how, we as people create that. But it always looks about how we can continue to go forward in these terrible, terrible times, which I think is important. Tom York talks about how this is a world that has been ruined. We continue to destroy everything. And it's so vibrant and so vivid, and it hits you right in the heart. And the melodies with the guitars and the drums produce a dark, soft melody that, though it sounds beautiful, it's also quite alarming, because this is the music for the end of the world. And I think there's something poignant and beautiful in that. And Radiohead's A Moon-Shaped Pool really produces that for me. Because though Tom York is singing some soft and delicate melodies, there is a lot of hate and darkness and despair behind it. And I think that adds for a very strong album. And so, once again, one of my other favorite albums of this year has to be Radiohead's A Moon-Shaped Pool. In 2016, there were a lot of great and fantastic comic book stories. I mean, the DC rebirth happened after all. But there was no story more self-gratifying or that connected with me more than Boom Studios' Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And this was a series that had it all for me. So it was a reinvention of this pop cultural phenomenon in the 90s that really resonated with me as a kid, right? Sparks flew, and as you've seen any of my videos, you know how much I care about Power Rangers, and I'm not the only one. But what they did is, now that the movie is coming out in 2017, Boom Studios decided to reinvent the series, keeping all of the awesome elements, including the iconic suits and the iconic characters, but redesign things for a more modern sensibility. So they're using cell phones. It's not set in the 90s anymore. Angel Grove is now set in the 2000s, 2016 to be exact. And the motivations are much more brought out. This is a more mature Power Rangers for a lot of people. Kids can still read it, but it's built more as these are actual superheroes, which is what the Power Rangers were supposed to be. You get a lot of great sense into the characters of Billy, Tommy, Trini, Kimberly, Zach, and Jason. And though the story is a little bit Tommy-centric, it's still a really good way to see as to, his early years of joining the Power Rangers and now kind of giving a sense. So it's not an origin story. Interestingly enough, it's actually focused on the time that Tommy becomes a good Ranger and how his focus in the team. There's new characters that are introduced, old characters that are brought back up, and overall, this is just a fun story. More importantly than that, the art is fantastic. All of the alternate covers make me want to buy them. This is everything that I love. So for 2016, my favorite comic book for sure is Boom Studios. Thank you so much for creating our Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and reinventing them in a fun and powerful way that reminds me why I love Power Rangers all over again.
They are rage, brutal, without mercy. But you will be worse. Rip and tear until it is done.
We have to contain this.
Cannot determine the cause of the demonic invasion until the Resop satellite is brought back online.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Samuel Hayden. I'm the head of this facility. I think we can work together and resolve this problem in a way that benefits us both.
Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect. Unsafe level. Lockdown in effect. Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect. Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect. Demonic presence eliminated. Lockdown disengaged.
Be cannot be allowed to leave this place. He would ruin everything.
I'm willing to take full responsibility for the horrible events of the last 24 hours, but you must understand. Our interest in their world was purely for the betterment of mankind. Everything has clearly gotten out of hand now, yes. But it was worth the risk, I assure you.
And that is how you're supposed to start an immersive video game experience. Doom is my favorite game of 2016. I don't really play a lot of video games, but it wasn't until my best buddy Steven had me play it that I was enamored and consumed by this fantastic experience. Developed by id Software and published by Bethesda, it's the only kind of first-person shooter that I like. What is more metal than ripping and tearing through endless hordes of demonic abominations straight from the mouths of hell? It's violent, brutal, rhythmic, and perfect. What I love so much about this game is that it can be enjoyed in two ways. It can be a fun and mindless first-person shooter game, or it can be a highly detailed campaign adventure steeped in hidden narrative, honoring the game's lore for both fans and newcomers alike. I mean, you can run through the UAC research facility or stroll through the barren grounds of Mars or rampage in the satanic realms of hell itself. Whether in space or fucking hell, you can violently and stylistically shoot down and punch your way through demon soft and mechanical bits for endless enjoyment. Not to mention the perfect soundtrack by Mick Gordon serves as a brilliant immersion tool. Whenever you're running through an area and all of a sudden the heavy metal guitars start playing, you know that the demons are coming, and there will be no fucking escape for these fuckers as you shoot them with your arsenal of high-tech guns and chainsaw. The soundtrack has elements of industrial gent metal and so many other things, and it's just such a fun experience, and it really puts you into it. I mean, who doesn't want to just shoot demons straight in the head for days? By far, this is the best game of 2016. I mean, in my opinion, of course. And for those of you saying that this game is too violent and gory for audiences, well, it's rated M for mature, so there. And also, at its core, it's a game that challenges the player to step into the role as the unstoppable Doom guy and to basically kill the devil and the legions of hell. And that is doing the Lord's work. So please, rip and tear, check out this game. The graphics are great, the sound is awesome, the narrative is fun, and it's just a great experience where you get to do a lot of fun-ass shit. And it has a lot of lore for people that originally liked the original Doom games, so it has a little bit of old and new for all kinds of different things. So, my top pick for 2016, best game of the year, by far, Doom. So go rip and tear, motherfuckers. It's awesome. Besides giving us great media to consume, 2016 was the year of wrestling. And wrestling in 2016 was just fantastic. It was simply glorious. Quite frankly, it was phenomenal. WWE has produced some of the finest wrestling scene in a long time, especially considering that they currently have some of the best wrestlers alive in the business today. The mid-card alone is one of the most competitive and talented groups of superstars imaginable. After all, this is the year that gave us so many iconic moments, such as AJ Styles debuting at the Royal Rumble, the best debut year ever, including ending the year as WWE Champ. It had Dean Ambrose winning Money in the Bank and cashing in the same night, finally becoming World Heavyweight Champion, and as well as the Shield Triple Threat. There was the brand split, SmackDown Live being the superior show with the awesome Talking Smack, The Miz being such a great heel IC champion, the return of Shane O'Mac, the bromance of Jericho, and the list of Jericho. John Cena and AJ Styles at SummerSlam, Charlotte Flair being the queen of women's wrestling and bringing some real legitimacy in her iconic title runs this year. The New Day's longest title reign in history, Dean versus Triple H at Roadblock, those classic tag matches put on between the Revival, American Alpha, and DIY. Daniel Bryan's retirement speech, the Cruiserweight Classic, Nakamura versus Sami Zayn at Takeover Dallas, and including Nakamura's awesome entrance. This is the year that I was introduced to What Culture Wrestling on YouTube, as well as purchasing the What Culture Wrestling magazine straight from the UK. Beautiful, all of it awesome. I love learning more information about wrestling. I expanded my wrestling figure collection, as well as picking up a replica WWE World Championship belt, which makes me so happy. And this is also the year that I went to see my first WWE live event for SmackDown on August 23rd, and I got to see WWE Champ Dean Ambrose, my favorite. This was the year of AJ Styles, best debut year ever. But it was also the year of my favorite. Dean Ambrose wrestled the most matches in 2016, wrestled the most pay-per-view matches in 2016, stood tall at the end of most Raws and SmackDowns in 2016, and he beat John Cena clean. I mean, this was really Ambrose's year, as well as AJ's. So this was just a great year for wrestling in so many different ways. And by far, 2016 will be remembered for that, specifically for me. It's been an amazing ride.